everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk. I'm your host John, and today here on the channel we're going to be talking about one of the greatest films of all time, The Third Man, and its brand new Lionsgate limited 4K Blu-ray that just came out. But before we get into that 4K Blu-ray review, I always like to give a quick film review, and today is no different. So if you don't want to know anything about The Third Man, and you're just here to check out that 4K Blu-ray review, you guys can skip ahead to that right now. So The Third Man was directed by Carol Reed. It was originally released in 1949 in the United Kingdom. It wasn't until February 2nd of 1950 that it came over here to the United States. It is widely considered one of the greatest films ever made. I believe BFI actually put it up at #1 and it's the greatest British film ever made. And you can clearly see why when you watch this movie. I didn't catch up to this movie until I would say about 10 years ago, going down a list of what is considered the greatest movies of all time, and The Third Man popped up, and what drew my eye at the time was Orson Welles being in it. But when you watch the movie, you realize that Orson Welles, he obviously gets front and center on a lot of the posters. He comes up a lot because the character is one of the most memorable characters in film history. But a lot like Hannibal Lecter in The Silence of the Lambs, the amount of time he spends on screen isn't that much. I think he's only on screen for about 10 minutes, and he doesn't even pop up until halfway through the movie. That's because the mystery of the movie is revolving around the character. Joseph Cotten gets to post-occupied Vienna. There's 4 countries kind of running this one city. There's even a very funny line in the very beginning narration about how there's 4 countries running this: France, Russia, America, and England, and all 4 of them can't speak the language, so this should be a lot of fun for them. And, it creates a very interesting kind of setting as well. The way that they choose to shoot this movie, or where they choose to shoot this movie in Vienna, it kind of looks like post-war Vienna. It looks just, stunning, but it also looks like a city that is struggling at the time, and a man who is struggling is Joseph Cotten. It's funny, he's just a drunken writer, they say, and he believes that himself because he accepts the invitation to come to Vienna because he promises him a job. If he's a successful writer, he probably wouldn't come, but his writing is known by some, but it's not really very appreciated. Luckily, when he does get to Vienna, there is a guy who did recognize his writing and thought it was just more than just some cheap airport novel, or what we would consider a cheap airport novel nowadays. But clearly he's got an alcohol problem, doesn't have the confidence in himself, and he's here to see his buddy. And when he gets there, what the fuck happened? Turns out Henry died. He got hit by a car, and a couple of guys brought him across the street, and he died. This starts off one of the greatest noir films in history. Seems pretty simple enough, right? Well, he starts to ask some questions, and, other people's stories start to get conflicted. Somebody says that he was dead immediately. Another person says that, he told us to take care of you and his girlfriend, Anna, who's played by Alida Valli in this movie. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. She's an Italian actress. She's phenomenal in this movie as well. So, of course, he just keeps asking more and more questions. And like a lot of great noir films, we start to peel back layer after layer. And it starts to reveal that this might be a lot more dark and sinister than we originally thought. Turns out Lon, not such a great guy. He was, into racketeering. And, of course, Joseph Collins kind of writes that off. And he's like, okay, well, that's not too big of a deal. Henry was always kind of a loose cannon, I guess. But then, it starts to find out, oh, no, he did a lot more. He was a lot darker than you really thought. And it kind of changes Joseph Cotten's perspective of the Lon character, his buddy, his longtime childhood friend, the guy he considers his best friend. I kind of have an issue with, okay, you're listening to all these people. You don't know these people. You just got there. Of course, it's asking the question, can people change? Is it the same person that you remember? But he's very quickly able to change his perspective of the man based on other people's opinions, even though his girlfriend also says that, he helped me out. He got me the papers I needed. He's a great guy. And, of course, they start to develop a relationship as well, really in the mourning and the loss of her boyfriend and his friend. But, of course, as we go on, we get to find out a little bit more, and then it's revealed about, I guess about halfway through the movie. It was kind of a little line earlier, so we get to see her cat traveling in the streets of Vienna, and we saw earlier a guy was standing in the shadows, and we just see his feet. We don't know who that is. Then we see the cat rubbing up against the feet, and even before it's revealed, we know that's him. And then we get one of the greatest reveals in film history when the spotlight shines on down him, and we hang on it for a little while. He smirks at the camera and everything huh. And then we find out as time goes on that this guy has been selling not just shit on the black market, but he's selling watered down, diluted penicillin, which is killing people, including kids. Is my friend really my friend? Who is this guy? I don't know this guy anymore. And that leads to one of the greatest scenes in film history as well, because this is one of the greatest films ever, on the Ferris wheel, where the two of them just get together and talk. And you realize that Orson Welles, he's a real piece of shit, but he's also very, very, very charming. You kind of listen to the guy and you're like, this is absolutely psychotic what you're saying. You're inhumane. You know, you look at people as just ants who can just die just because it helps you get ahead. Now, in the modern world in 2025, this makes a lot of sense. We live in a world of greed and power with people who rise to power who don't give a fuck about the human beings they're supposedly leading. So I can understand this, unfortunately, what this guy is thinking, because I've seen it everywhere I go. You know, people are very charming. They know how to speak, and it helps them rise to power because people just kind of feel like that's an intelligent person, where it really is an absolute monster. Because the thing of this character is you do kind of feel sympathy for him just because of the way he talks. And of course, you know, it's building on the legacy of Orson Welles even at this point. And this is Orson Welles when he still looks good. I mean, just a charming guy and a man who knows how to control a scene. He really is one of the greatest actors of all time. And she's magnetic. When he gets on the screen, you're just immediately drawn to him. And again, he's not in the movie that much. And he just walks off like, hey, you know, that's the way it is. I'm not apologizing for it. And it's crazy. And then we kind of build up towards the end, which is one of the greatest final acts in film history. And we get these great shots in the sewer. And this is where the cinematography just really shines the most. This really is one of the best shot films in history just because of all the Dutch angles, which clearly have carried over to so many other great directors. I mean, obviously, Carol Reed is not the only director who was using these, but the cinematographer is phenomenal in this film. A lot of great iconic shots in this movie, not just the ones we were talking about, but running through the sewer, the way they light this. I mean, like the smoke at the very, like you leave the camera at one end and then at the very end, you know, it's smoky, you can't see somebody, so they're like walking out of the shadows, just setting the camera down. I've seen this done in so many other films like The Dead Zone and Sicario, films you wouldn't expect to have like similar shots to this, but that's how inspirational this film is on other directors. And then of course that builds up to the very end. Orson Welles does get caught. He does get killed, and I mean, again, the way he dies is iconic. His finger's just in the sewer drain, and then that's it. He kind of just looks at his buddy, and he's like, okay, that's it. You know, do what you got to do. Nods his head. We just hear the gunshot. We know what happened. We know he killed him. And then the very last shot of the movie is just absolutely heartbreaking with Anna walking down the street, and Joseph Kahn thinks, okay, you know what? I'll talk to her. He gets out of the car and stops, even though he's going to be late for his plane. Again, we set the camera at the very end of the street, and we think she's going to stop and talk to him, but no, she doesn't even fucking look his way. She just keeps on walking, and that's just a phenomenal way to end a movie like this, raising those moral questions. Like, can you even really trust the Joseph Cotton character as well? You know, this is a guy who also does seem like he's looking out for his best interests as well, even though he's coming off compassionate, raising these big moral questions in 1949. It's unbelievable, and that's why this is one of the greatest films that's ever been printed, and it still holds up so well to this very day. A movie over 75 years old to this point to still be this damn good makes you, even every time you watch it, you learn something new. You really get invested in the characters. It's just well acted, well shot. The music is absolutely incredible. We didn't even get to talk about the music, but the score is one of the most iconic scores in film history. Was number one on the charts in 1950. Was the theme to The Third Man. It's just that great, and we're also here today to talk about that 4K Blu-ray. So let's just dive right into that right now.
You're wrong about Harry. You're wrong about everything.
And here it is, The Third Man on 4K Blu-ray. This one is from Lionsgate Limited. This actually originally came out in the UK last year. I want to say November 2024 by Studio Canal. Studio Canal are the people who did the transfer for this. So the disc that's in here, it's the same exact transfer that the UK got from Studio Canal. It is their transfer, I guess, just lent out to the United States for this Lionsgate Limited release. You know, a lot of the artwork and a lot of the stuff inside is also the same, but Lionsgate Limited is one of those. This is actually the first Lionsgate Limited I've ever reviewed here on the channel. I had to grab this one because The Third Man is one of those classic films that I felt like I had to have in my collection. It's a phenomenal film. It gets better each and every single time I watch it. So I was afraid that this was going to go out of print, you know, kind of that FOMO of being a collector. I wanted to make sure I had this in my collection because the previous Blu-ray release was out of print for so long, and I was afraid that was going to happen with these Lionsgate Limited releases. You know, kind of on their site, once they're out, you know, they're not putting them back in. They might come back, but we don't know for sure. So I felt like I had to grab The Third Man on 4K Blu-ray, and at the price of $50, it's very hard to justify that unless this is a great 4K Blu-ray. And, you know, Lionsgate, they're known for these iconic slip covers. You kind of push out, you know, there goes Orson Welles' head and everything. You come underneath, and they included this booklet right behind that, which is really cool. You don't really get to see that. Really good paper stock. Always appreciate that. Nice steelbook underneath, very nice, dealing with the sewers. I always thought that these sewers also look very similar to the sewers at the beginning of Batman Returns. Maybe it took something from The Third Man. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm sure Tim Burton has seen The Third Man a million times and was inspired by that beautiful artwork. You come underneath, you got a bunch of lobby cards right here, and then over here you got 2 discs. It does also come with a digital code. You get one 4K disc and one Blu-ray disc. Now, the thing with the 4K disc and the Blu-ray disc is they're exactly the same. And what I mean by that is everything that's on the 4K disc is going to be on your Blu-ray disc. All the extras are exactly the same. So all you're getting on that Blu-ray disc in comparison to the 4K Blu-ray disc is a downscaled version of the brand new scan, which is good for my buddies out there who love to just collect Blu-rays and don't have 4K Blu-ray players. You can pick this up. You can pick this one up and you'll get the new scan of the movie, which they took very seriously, because if you dive into the extras, which again, same on the Blu-ray that are on the 4K Blu-ray, so don't worry about the extras. You can just watch them on the 4K Blu-ray if you'd like. But there is a good amount of extras. There's a great director's showcase of all these great directors, including Martin Scorsese, talking about The Third Man and how it inspired them. There's another like looking back called Shadows, and they kind of like, it's really well made. It's like an artistic documentary, a short documentary. Like, they're kind of like reflecting the film on the sewers and everything. Really appreciated that extra. But the big one that really impressed me was the one going through the restoration process of The Third Man. And it's big for us here, physical media collectors. If you've ever wondered and you've never seen it before, there have been other making-ofs that have included the restoration process, but I really appreciated them including it on here because they really take you through every single step. Maybe it's a little bit boring because of the people doing it. You know, they're not entertainers. They're really just guys and girls who want to preserve the legacy of the film, but they go through everything about how they were able to pick. It's not the original camera negative, but it's close to it. It's one of the original like copies of it from 1949. I think it was 1948 or 1949 that they used. They take you through every single step. They take you, basically show you how they go frame by frame, pulling off dust and dirt and clearing everything up, how they add in, how they mess around with the contrast and really make it look as close to the original print as they possibly could before they throw on everything else that makes this look like a beautiful 4K Blu-ray. It really does make you appreciate it a little bit more. Not every studio like Studio Canal is going to go through and do all these transfers, but studios like that who put the work in, and then I come on here and kind of insult it if it doesn't come out as I was expected. You know, that's why we talk about source material. You can't clean everything up if the negative is in poor shape. It's almost impossible. But as you can see by that extra, the Studio Canal people really take this stuff very seriously. I'm talking going frame to frame. You know, that would drive a lot of people nuts, but they did a phenomenal job with their transfer. So it all came to fruition when this was finally released, but I definitely recommend checking out that extra. It might not be for everyone because, again, it's like a little bit boring, but it is absolutely fascinating, and I think it'll make you appreciate these 4K Blu-rays a little bit more. I know it made me appreciate this 4K Blu-ray a little bit more. Now, the audio, it's just a straight mono track, as you would expect for a film this old, but everything comes in crisp and clear. You know, there are some times where you might hear like a slight hiss in the background just because, hey, it's a 1949 film, but every other time I've ever watched this film, it didn't sound as good as it does right now. Of course, I've seen it on streaming. I've never owned this movie before, so this is the first time I'm actually watching an uncompressed version. And then when we get to the visuals, you get Dolby Vision and HDR10, and this is like night and day compared to the film that I've seen before. Because every other time I've watched The Third Man, like I said, it was streaming, but I always thought that, you know, the blacks never could hit those deep blacks. They were just very gray. I always thought that the film was a very gray film, despite the fact that it's beautifully shot. Well, when we get to this 4K Blu-ray, we're finally able to hit those deep blacks, and for a movie that's shot like this, one of the greatest shot films of all time, and all of its beauty coming to 4K Blu-ray, it just shines in here. They did a phenomenal job with the Dolby Vision and the HDR10 on here. I didn't see too much of a difference in the two, so if you have HDR10 and you don't have Dolby Vision access, I don't think you're missing too much. Of course, this is a black and white film, which always lends itself great to the 4K Blu-ray format. I don't think this is as good as like Lahain or The Night of the Hunter as far as black and white 4K Blu-rays go, but it does get really, really close, especially in that third act in the sewers. Like, all that stuff is just absolute eye candy. In a movie filled with plenty of eye candy. So I just thought that this 4K Blu-ray overall was a fantastic release. Now, just remember, if you guys have that Studio Canal release, this is the exact same release, so there's no reason for you guys to go out and purchase this one unless you want to double dip for like the Steelbook. I know there are collectors out there who just collect because they love the nice packaging, and Lionsgate, obviously, as they always do, hit a home run with the packaging. But you're not getting anything new as far as extras, sound, and the video quality. So if you have that Studio Canal release, I recommend just holding on to that. But for the $50 price tag, it might be a little bit hard to justify. But if you're a fan of The Third Man, and you've always wanted to have it in your collection, I have to recommend grabbing it because I don't know for sure if it'll ever come back into the rotation. I don't know if we'll ever get a standard release. Like Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 and Jackie Brown had standard releases, so at least you could pick that up and save some money. We didn't get that here in the United States with this, so it's a tough pill to swallow for a $50 4K Blu-ray. You better be a big fan of The Third Man, and if you are, it's definitely worth it because of all those extras, and you'll have this film in your collection, and you don't have to worry about, watching it on streaming or getting it old out of print Blu-ray. No, you'll have it, so you'll always have that peace of mind that it's there for you because it is one of those classic films that even if you don't love The Third Man, I always felt like it was one of those movies that you have to at least see one time because it's just an all-time film. And if I was going to give this 4K Blu-ray a score of 1 to 10, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I would go a little bit higher, but again, that price tag of $50 is really hard to justify, and in the world we live in now, with everything costing more, to spend $50 on one film is definitely a tough pill to swallow. At least it's The Third Man. But anyway, guys, it is Tuesday, so I'm going to kick it over to my future self for this week's Digital Code Giveaway. Hey, everyone, just popping in at the end of the video for this week's Digital Code Giveaway. In every single video that we do on Friday, I ask you guys 2 Digital Code Giveaway questions. All you got to do is answer one of those in the comment section. As long as you did that, you came back to this video right here where I put your name on a magic wheel, spun that bad boy 2 times. The 2 names you landed on, they have their choice of the digital codes that you've seen on your screen before you today. And it's also the first Tuesday in March. That means we're going to do our channel members physical media giveaway as well. We do this each and every single month as long as you are a channel producer or higher. So this month we'll have John Doe Juggalo, Uncle V, Kevin Kruger, Mr. Smelly Potato, and of course the great Frank from Frank's Media and Reviews on the wheel. We're not going to have Kevin Kruger on the wheel because he actually donated this month's big giveaway point, which is the Constantine 4K Blu-ray. Kevin's a great guy. He's always helping out the channel, a long-time channel member, long-time channel subscriber. So he donated Constantine on 4K Blu-ray specifically for this physical media channel members giveaway. I really appreciate that, buddy. Thank you so much. So the winner of this could potentially walk away with that. And then you also have other options if you're not in the Constantine. Color Out of Space on 4K Blu-ray, which will not include the slipcover. This slipcover has already been promised to Frank from Frank's Media Reviews because last month he got this version on 4K Blu-ray. I mailed this to him, but it got mailed right back to me for some reason. So I bought Frank a new one from Walmart, and it didn't come with a slipcover. Of course, you have The Ring on Blu-ray. This is a steelbook. It's not on 4K Blu-ray. It's a Blu-ray, but it's a really nice steelbook. It's just I have the 4Ks. 2012 on 4K Blu-ray, really good 4K. Just not a huge fan of the film. The Core on 4K Blu-ray. The Lost Boys on 4K Blu-ray. This is a great 4K Blu-ray too, and also just a great film. And then last but not least, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I have the triple pack of that, so I didn't need that. So you guys have your choice of those, and of course Constantine on 4K Blu-ray. And without further ado, let's spin that magic wheel. Alright, congratulations, John Doe Juggalo. You can always reach out to me, buddy. You know how to do that. And let me know if you want Constantine's 4K Steelbook or one of the other movies. And now let's spin our digital code giveaway wheel. congratulations to Donna B and them, dude. You guys have both won in the past, so you know what to do. Reach out to me at letstalkentmt@gmail.com. Facebook, the artist formerly known as Twitter, or Instagram. All those links are also in the description below. So if you need to find one, in the description below, just message me. Let me know which of the digital codes you want. As long as the other winner didn't take that code is all yours. And we do that digital code giveaway every single week and that physical media giveaway every single month. So if you want to become a channel member, look for all that information in the description below. There's a lot of different perks out there for you guys if you want to become a channel member. You get new videos just by becoming a friend of the channel. Every single week you can watch me do a review of an episode of Twin Peaks. We're watching that in order. We're up to episode 5. I usually do another video each and every single week, whether it be a review for a new film that came out in theaters, maybe a special I want to talk about, or in the case of this week, I'll be talking about my thoughts on the Academy Awards that went by this past Sunday. So there's a lot of different types of perks, and of course you get that giveaway. And also, I know a lot of people might not realize yet, but if you remember the Q&A show that we do every single Saturday, that show will now be live every single Saturday, except for this month. It won't be live on March 15th or March 29th. Got some things to do, but we have some other stuff planned instead, and we'll talk about that going forward. But that Q&A show, its replay is available right here on the channel. It's the same exact show. It's actually a little bit longer, and you know, it's also more interactive. I just don't know if many people realize that the Q&A show is live each and every single Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, and then the replay will be available right after that. So keep sending in your questions. You know, we answer a lot more live on the show now, so maybe we don't get to as many pre-planned questions, but we're still answering them. We're still having a good time, and I just want to make sure you guys were aware of that. But enough of me rambling on. You got no money to throw away, guys. Don't worry about it at all. We just hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, get out in those streets, tell your friends about us, and then we'll be seeing you